Stephen, welcome to Locked In, man. Straight from Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
We were just trying to figure out if you're our first male guest from Louisiana or not. We'll have to double check that. But you made it. Louisiana's getting its first snowstorm. So you pulled through and you got here, and thanks so much for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I thank you for having me. I don't know if I'm the first Louisiana male that's been on the show, but I am one of the proudest. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. I got to make it to Louisiana one of these days to get the seafood, man. I really want to try that.
Party spot. You love to party? Come to Louisiana. You love good food? Come to Louisiana. You love music? Come to Louisiana. Yeah. You love alligators? Come to Louisiana.
I don't love alligators. Yeah. She was telling me out there that you're getting ready to move, though, to Detroit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
That's where my fiance lives, as well as my mom now. So eventually I'll be transferring from Louisiana to Detroit to be closer to family.
That's awesome. Did you grow up in Louisiana?
No, sir. I actually went to Louisiana from the military. Back in 1998. I was in the military, about 18, 19 years old. And that's how I got associated with Louisiana, because I was stationed there.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up initially in Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
I'm born and raised in Little Rock, and Hot Springs, and a few other places, back and forth with, different family members, coming from different households, growing up in the projects, growing up with multiple family members. I went from house to house, broken childhood pretty much. Mother and father were there but not there, off and on throughout my childhood. So I had more than one home. But my primary was Arkansas, but I've also lived in Detroit. I've lived in Atlanta, different places. So now I'm in Louisiana and I'm trying to work my way back to Detroit.
Any siblings did you grow up with?
Yes, I have two siblings. I have an older sister, Fidelica, and I have a younger sister, Erica.
What did your parents do for work?
My parents, as I was growing up as a young man, my dad was more of an entrepreneur, hustler. He actually inherited like a newsstand and a nightclub from his father. So he was in the business of trying to do entertainment and sales and, entrepreneur stuff back in the 70s and 80s. My mother was always good with cooking. She's like the best cook I've ever known. And most of my life, I can remember her working in or managing somebody's kitchen. So entrepreneurship for dad and culinary arts for mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was she big in your life, even though you guys lived in different households growing up?
Yes, she was always big. Now, to be honest, and she doesn't mind me talking about it because it's part of our story, my mother did suffer from drug addiction at one time. So a lot of my younger years, she was not 100% present. And when she was there, it was always genuine and it was always good quality. But the times where she was high or, her addiction was bothering her, strung out, she would be gone a lot. But it kind of balanced out because when she would come home and go through her recovery phases, she was like the best mom ever. So, yes, we were close. I had to witness her going through these stages. I had to witness people turn their back on her. I had to witness family members turn their back on her. I had to witness friends turn their back on her. And by us, growing up in the house with her around when she instilled a lot of things in us that you could even say was contradictory, because she would teach us morals. She would teach me respect. She would teach me to be clean, to be nice. She would teach me to be honest, So I got a lot from her when she was in her right mind. Although when she was in her wrong mind, her addictive mind, it was a lot of pain. But I began to understand that she's not her addiction. So as a grown man today with hindsight, yes, indeed, we were close, and we still are today. We talk pretty much almost every single day we talk, or text, pretty much. It might be a day or two we miss, but me and all my family, we're very close, because I believe that, family is everything, especially when you go through prison. You know that yourself. Family is everything. And I'm learning that as a grown man.
How was her relationship with your father when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, when I was a little boy, beyond further than I can remember, they were married. And as I grew up, the years that I can remember, kindergarten, first grade, 5, 6, 7 years old, those years they had separated and later divorced. At first they had a great relationship, as far as I can tell, as far as I know. And from what I'm told today by my mom and dad, just things started happening. Like I said, the drug era kicked in. Poverty, takes its course. And so that had an effect on their relationship, because, in the household, that brings a lot of stress. And you have the man versus the woman, in the house, and their relationship got more strained. You started, seeing and hearing more disrespect, and they're giving up on each other. They tired of each other. They getting sick of each other. They growing apart. So I witnessed some of that. But before that, I know they were actually married and happy, because we still have pictures of the happy days. So their relationship was pretty good. It just got derailed, I would say.
How would people describe you as a kid?
They would describe me back then more nerdy, more booky. I like books. I like to read. I was reading early. I was serious, but I was also playful. I like to have fun. I like to smile. I wasn't criminal yet, as a little child. So I didn't grow up destined to go to prison. I grew up in a house that actually tried to teach and, breed respect and things like that. So coming up as a kid, most people liked me. I was liked by my aunties, family members, teachers, pastors. People still have that. They take a liking to me because my personality has always been outgoing, outspoken. I am one of those who tries to bring positivity into the room, So growing up a child like that, most people would look at you like a people's person. That's my baby, or, that's my boy, or whatever it may be, So I would say that people saw me as a decent young man.
Were you attending school regularly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I attended school all the way from preschool, kindergarten, all the way to the 11th grade. Yes, sir.
So did you graduate high school? Because
no.
You never made it past.
No, sir. 11th grade was the end. Getting in trouble, running with the wrong crowds. I eventually had to join the Job Corps. And that was really the end of school. And from there, from the Job Corps to the military, and then ironically from military to prison. And so in the process, I got my GED. So that's my education level, GED.
The great rewards hunt is on, and DraftKings Casino is the place to be. Massive jackpots, weekly bonuses, and epic games are waiting for you. Plus, if you're new, you get 500 casino spins on a featured game. Just sign up with code IANBICK, wager $5, and start spinning. The fun never stops at DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. physically present in Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Connecticut and Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. New customers only. Non-withdrawable casino spins valid for featured games only and expire in 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends 4/27/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Was there something significant that happened to you as a child that made you go down the wrong path? Because you said you were a good kid, good family morals, right, and you were very studious and taking school seriously. What happened?
Right. Well, in my case in particular, as I look back on hindsight, I know that the familial presence, the family, I didn't have the balanced, stabilized family life because, like I said, with my mom in drugs and my dad in drugs and not really understanding what it is to be the man of the house, the leader, the builder, it left me with an unstable life too because I didn't know how to be a man. I didn't know the responsibilities that come with being a man. I didn't know the mindset that comes with being a man. I didn't know what it was to be patient and work through problems. I didn't, those type of values that have to be instilled by a father, I didn't have. And when it came to my mother, I didn't see the best vision of what it is to have a good woman. I didn't know the difference between the neighborhood females that we would chase typically versus the Proverbs 30 or 31 type woman. So having that unbalance in the house had an effect on me where I too was unbalanced because even as a good kid, I still wanted more. I still wanted to get involved with stuff I should not have been. I didn't have to commit crimes. I chose to commit crimes. I didn't have to, I actually, joined gangs. I didn't have to, I chose to. I wasn't forced into it like some people are. But because of my lack of family or my void in my life, trying to fulfill that or filling that in was one of the reasons that, I did a lot of stuff that I did, like joining gangs, running with the wrong crowds, doing stupid stuff when you're young and dumb that you don't really have to do. And people remind you like, why are you doing that? You too smart for that, or, this, that, and the other. So it's not necessarily that something happened to me. I look at it as it more as something didn't happen for me, which was the strong family structure. And by lacking that, I and many others, we attempt to fill that void naturally with unnatural practices. So in my case, I just did a lot of unnatural, unnecessary stuff out of that pain of not having family. And I'll say this, I used to feel every time I see people at school, when you have parent-teacher conference, I see people with both parents. When you have Christmas programs, I see both parents. When you have holiday events, field trips, when it's time for the brand new lunch boxes to come out, you will see other people with so many opportunities and so many different blessings. And it makes you feel like, well, dog, I don't get this. I don't have that. I don't have that. So it creates like a lack. And in trying to fulfill that lack, my life took a wrong turn in trying to fulfill it the wrong way. So that's how I end up running with the wrong people. I end up running with people that I should not have. 9, 10, 11 years old, I'm not thinking about school. I'm not thinking about a future. I'm not thinking about career. I'm not thinking about what I want to be when I grow up anymore. Now I just want to do something, anything, that put money in my pockets right now, or that brings me some type of belonging, a sense of belonging, a sense of family. So it was more of not necessarily something happening in my perspective. It was more of the lack. I had that feeling of lacking something.
Did the gangs instantly give you that feeling you were looking for when you got associated?
Somewhat. But, in my young and dumb mind, yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be respected. It's cool to have people around you, people liking you. It feels good because it strokes that ego. When you young and don't really know and you learning, it feels good to have people looking up to you for the wrong reasons. It feels good to see people afraid or see people respecting you, or, that's something you don't normally get. So, in a sense, I can say as a young dummy, yes, it fulfilled what I thought I was missing. But now as a grown man, hindsight looking back, no, it wasn't no good because what it led to. So, no, I don't think I actually found what was missing.
Were you experimenting with drugs or alcohol in your teenage years?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
What was your first drug?
My first drug was marijuana. My first drug, my best drug was marijuana at the time, because I lived in a house where drugs were fluent, frequent. And my mom would tell you, there were times where I would witness her with her friends partying. And, back in them days, they had the weed on the tray with the little clamps and the paper, and, that stuff be left out. And then you have times where they try to hide it, put it under the bed, and, so I'll steal it. So, a couple of times I've stole it, and I want to see what it is. Cigarettes, beer, alcohol, marijuana. Now, I've never done meth. I have tried coke, so, but the number one thing that I actually indulged in as a habit was marijuana, and I loved it.
Do you think it influenced any of your bad decisions as a teenager?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely, because when it became something that was cool, something that was easy to do, it actually started influencing me to start selling it. Because we would go to, matter of fact, I was in Detroit at the time when I started, but we would go to school and you would find $10 bags, and really they're like $5 or $6 bags, but they hustling. So I learned to do it like that. Take a $5, $6, $7 bag, couple of grams, put it in a little bag and sell it for 10, 15, depending on who it was. A lot of times you could double it. And that became more of a habit, but at the same time, the smoking it was, just as a youngster with the pain, and a youngster without that vision and without that man actually showing you your real your real virtue, that marijuana comes in and replaces all that. It numbs that. It makes you feel good. Like most people think, I'm thinking my best when I'm on it. That's how I used to be. When it's time to focus on a decision or focus on a problem, smoke that weed. When it's time to go do something stupid, smoke that weed. When somebody tripping, smoke that weed. And that just became a habit because I didn't know how to solve problems. I didn't know how to look and analyze problems and come up with a solution with my natural mind. So the natural thing with me and my people, we gonna smoke weed. So yeah, it influenced a lot of stupid stuff. I've been in a lot of trouble behind weed and drugs. It's broken up our family, and it even influenced my life in a bad way because weed caused me to I was in the military. Weed caused me to choose drugs over career. And so when I look back on it today, and you ask the question, great question, does weed or any drug make you do stupid stuff, or does it influence you? Does it affect you? Yes, indeed. Every day I think about that because I was just young and dumb and not looking at the future and not listening to the people who would try to warn you. You put all that to the side to listen to this devil, to listen to the weed, to listen to the drugs, and all the things that you want at that age. So yes, definitely. Weed, yeah, it caused a lot of problems in my life, myself and my family. So, yes.
Whose idea was it for you to join the Job Corps and then subsequently the military?
Myself, along with other family members, and getting in trouble with the police at the same time. It was all a consortium of things. But I actually was in Detroit, going to Inkster High in 1995.
Year I was born.
Okay, well, welcome to the world. That was a good year. So, 95 was a very good year. In Detroit, and what happened, I was getting in trouble up there at an auntie's in her house, and not being respectful, not being presentable, not being a decent young man, not being civilized. I was arrogant, retarded, young and dumb, and she eventually couldn't deal with me no more. So it ended up resulting in her kicking me out and returning me back down south, like I said, Arkansas in particular. And after that, because my mom wasn't around, nor my father, who I thought was dead at the time, nobody being around that we saw as immediate family, my other aunties and family members all put together, in on the idea collectively that we got to find something for him to do that's going to keep him away from trouble, out of trouble, and what they thought was something good for him in his future, productive. That's how, at 16 years old, the Job Corps option came up. I had an auntie that recently passed, God bless her. May God be pleased with her soul for her efforts. She had friends that she knew that she could talk to and was trying to find ways to help. So the Job Corps became an option because I couldn't just keep going back to school getting in trouble. And they didn't want to deal with my foolishness at home, because I was rebellious. I didn't want to stay in the house. I'd sneak out the windows and, getting caught in girls' houses, that kind of stuff. So it was too much. And one of the biggest things at the time was, the military, of course, always in the neighborhoods and the projects, and they coming to get everybody. And it's easy to attract people because, you see a man pull up with cars and money and jewelry. That's the same thing you see with drug dealing. So it's enticing. And they use that as recruitment. But in the Job Corps, the same thing, except the money don't come as quick, but you see a lot of brotherhood, camaraderie. You go to work, you learn a trade, learn a skill, and you get paid. And so that's enticing when you see people come from that successfully. So all of that blended up together was part of the reason why Job Corps seemed to be a great idea for me at that time.
And then how do you transfer from Job Corps into the military? Well,
yeah, that's very interesting because in the Job Corps, 1995, 1996, which was also another good year. Thank Tupac. In 96, as I was finishing the Job Corps, I went through like 11 months between welding, cement finishing. After about 12 months, standard Job Corps, they give you your certificate as being completed the program, the training, and then they try to place you with a job, job placement. So I did almost like 11 months to this point, and after that 11 month, I didn't want to mess with it no more because I had seen how hard cement finishing was. And I didn't like heat just like I don't now. I sweat easy. I didn't like welding. I didn't like being in the booth with all that stuff on, so I left welding alone. Now, cement finishing I could do because I like being outside. I like the sun in a sense. But that back-breaking labor, I never saw myself, that's not going to be my career. So at around 11 months of doing that, I'm still running with the wrong crowd. We leaving off the compound, the campus. We escaping on the weekends. We doing stupid stuff. We smoking weed when we not supposed to. And so I'm running with the same wrong crowds that got me in trouble in the first place as a child. And I had a partner out of Monroe, Louisiana, one of my best friends at the time. We went through a lot together through those years of Job Corps because Job Corps is almost like prison. It's set up to be separatory. It separates. It puts people in classes. And then it's exploitive or exploitative. And you're really preparing people for prison with stuff like that. Letting men shower together and hang around each other all day, not really around your family, working for pennies. And then you have state food, state medicine, all the same stuff you have in prison. So, in Job Corps, I got this disgruntled feeling like I don't want to be here no more. And just cutting up. So what happened after, like I said, at 11th month, and these clowns in my ear, I come up with the idea, I'm about to leave this stuff alone, I'm about to move somewhere and go hit licks, go commit crimes, go hustle. This ain't for us. And at that time, again, aunties and family members in my family who did care about me, which I didn't see back then, they come up with another idea. I had another cousin in the military. And the idea this time, let's offer the military as a junction. We had a family friend, people in different places, pulling strings. So anyway, I run into a recruiter, got the recruiter coming to pick me up and show me this and bring me here and, convince me that I can be all I can be and, all this kind of stuff. So me being young and dumb, all I see is the cars, the women, the jewelry, the money, the traveling. I like to travel, So all of that combined, I said, man, F the Job Corps. I'm going to the military. So I ended up basically joining the military. And it only took me maybe 4 months to see like, this ain't really what it's cracked up to be. Because again, it was work. It was working for pennies. It was state food. It was, again, showering with other men. It's like these institutions prepare you for prison, like the school to prison pipeline. That's what Job Corps was. That's what the military was. So going from, to answer your question directly, going from the Job Corps to the military was like going from, a green apple to a red apple. They both apples. And it wasn't a hard sell for me because I was already used to not living around my family, and I'm already used to this institutionalized life. So it was like just leaving one jail to go to another prison, or one prison to a jail. And it was a period in my life where I was numb to a lot of stuff that family was talking about anyway, because I felt like at the time, like nobody really understanding what I go through, or nobody's really, in my shoes because they not, You don't know how it feels to have your mother on drugs and to have to go to school and people know this, that kind of stuff. So going from Job Corps to the military was not a big jump. It was like I still was the same person, was same mind, same attitude, F everybody, F the world. And I still had that void of not having family in the Job Corps, just as well as I did in the military. So it wasn't really much of a jump to me. But I will say this, my family did try to help me. At the time, I didn't see it and didn't know it, but they did try to help me in the sense that they were always trying to find solutions to the problems far bigger than what I was trying to find, when it comes to solutions. My solutions were nothing. I just wanted to run from the problems, get away from it, and try to rebuild something from scratch that didn't make sense, but they were trying to find something viable that was really productive and helpful to my situation. So that's also a reason why I went from the Job Corps and not following what I wanted to do, leaving the Job Corps and go to the streets and sell dope and rob people. we ended up with the temporary solution of leaving the Job Corps, going to the military to see if we can work on this again, get it back right.
What branch of the military did you join, and what was like your goal, if you had one?
Yeah, the Army. The Army was the branch. My goal at the time was just to keep working, making money, traveling the world, trying to, figure myself out. I didn't have any major lofty goals. At the time, when I joined, I was 17, 18. I still haven't learned life. I still haven't learned. I didn't have morals. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in the totality of family. And I was gullible because, like I said, like a little fish that chases shiny things on the bait. Anything you dangling from me, look at this new car, look at this pretty woman, look at this stack of money. That was my motivation. So, I didn't hang around people that was, saluting the flag every day and gung-ho and we'll die for America. I didn't hang around them kind of people. I hung around the people that sat in the back that all we wanted to do was party. We was in there for money, women, drugs, partying. And like you see a lot of the kids today in the military, they're not there to die. They're there because they like the money, they like the partying, they like the brotherhood, like a fraternity. So it's like college life to them. But I didn't have goals. So my only thing was just going to work every day, make the money, do what I do, enjoy my life when I come home. In the morning, I put on a uniform, salute a flag. At night, I'm in the club doing drugs. So that was, at that time, the only thing I knew. I didn't have any big lofty aspirations. I didn't think I'd ever be a public speaker or a youth mentor, a published author. I didn't think I'd be helping people get their GEDs. I never saw myself as a helper or a teacher or anything like that. So, the goals I had were simple-minded and I always say young and dumb. I was just young and dumb.
Do you think that was because your parents didn't motivate you more to be something else? Like give you that inspiration that you could do better in life, you could escape the projects, you could be more?
Right. I think it's a multitude of things because I know people that even had parents like that and they still ended up in prison just like I did. And I know some today. So I wouldn't just say it's that. I think it's a multitude of not being around the right resourceful people, from preachers and teachers and family members and community members. People in your community. See, and part of my problem was I didn't listen like I should have listened in class and around people that were giving me wisdom. I thought I knew it. So that ego would shut out the wisdom. But for example, you have people that come around and they give you good things. They give you good wisdom, good information, good knowledge. But what I didn't understand was that I have to take it and apply it myself. I wanted instant gratification. I wanted it to be handed on like a platter. So I didn't know the process to get from planting the seed to growing the fruit. I didn't know about all that. And I think in our communities where we find a lot of potentially talented people using their talents destructively for themselves or their community, I think one of the things that we miss is the right resources, the right resourceful people who not only come in and say, hey, don't do that. You need to do this. Well, that sounds good, but we need people that don't do that. Come here, let me teach you how to do this. Let me show you what that looks like. I didn't have that. And not just my parents, because my dad used to set certain examples and my mom used to set certain examples that I never forget to this day. For example, love your family while they're still around. I've always heard that from my mom, and shout out to her. So no, I don't think it's just the parents. I think it's because, we had that saying about it takes the village to raise the child. And I think our village lacked the right people or right resources combined with the effort to put it all into fruition for that child to see. And I didn't have those examples. But let me also say this, because I can't just say I didn't have examples. I didn't know how to follow those examples, and I didn't know what was the right examples to watch. So, for example, we grew up with a lot of Cosby Show, and so when you see the Cosby Show, we had and most of us watched it around. This was before your time. Now that made me feel old, man.
Or I'm just very young.
Okay, we'll go with that. That's a nice way to say it. The Cosby Show was something that gave us a sense of, man, that's a nice family. That family has it all together. That family is perfect. I wish I had that. I wish I had these opportunities and chances. Many people saw that like that. And when we didn't have it, it created, like I said earlier, it gives you this sense of lack. Like, man, I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that. And so at that time, it takes more than, and Cosby Show was good for showing that it was more than just the mother and father. It's the whole spectrum of family and community, because there's many situations where you would have a mother and a father in the house and they might be working, but they have an auntie that's taking care of the kids, or they might have a neighbor that's also taking care of the kids. And if I did something back then, my neighbor had the right to whoop me, or my auntie had the right to whoop me just like my mother did. So when we lack that community involvement, I think that for me that had a lot greater harmful effect for me, was not having the best of community engagement. Because, coming up, like I said, in the crack era, a lot of community turned their backs on each other in a lot of cases. Not all, but some. And it became devastating because this neighbor no longer wanted to work with this neighbor. And like it is now today, nobody tells nobody anything. You know, you see the child doing something, nobody don't say nothing. They just let them go on and do it. You know, that didn't happen like that back then. Now that's become prevalent. And I know that in my life, I'm like in between that shift, you know, from then to now. I'm in the middle, you know, from them 80s and 90s babies. Our generation, we needed not just looking at Michael Jordan on TV or Mike Tyson or whoever it may have been that was heroes. We needed somebody that we could see right there amongst us, doing it every day and showing us this is how you do that, and making it look just as good as any drug dealer or any rapper or anybody else that we will follow. We needed to see I needed to see visual examples of what success and excellence looks like for a young man with the potential to do good. And if the community doesn't seize on that opportunity, really you just allow the devil to get involved. And that becomes the influence. And that's what happened to me. So I don't just blame not, you know, my parents, but the community is part of that.
What happened to your siblings? Did they go down a similar path? Or
No.
did they do something different?
No. Excuse me. Absolutely the opposite. My older sister, who's now a college graduate, CPA, and my younger sister, who's a college graduate with a master's degree in library science. Both of my sisters were, you know, they stayed in school. Both of them ducked the streets. Both of them turned out to be good. They're both successful to this day. I was the problem child. I was the middle child out of three for my mom. And they're both totally opposite. So looking at our family, you would never know that I was the, you know, by me being the problem child, me going to prison, you would never look and see like, wow, they all come from the same family. So no, they didn't choose that route at all. Neither one of them have ever been in jail, you know, for anything major, you know, some minor speeding ticket, that kind of stuff, they'll get that. But crimes, no. I was the only criminal. I was the black sheep.
So you ended up in Louisiana for the military, the Army.
Yep.
What happened that cut your time short with them?
Drugs and marijuana. I love to party. I ain't want to go to work no more. I ain't want to listen. I ain't want to do what I was supposed to do. Getting tired of it. Like I said, same thing with Job Corps. But one of the biggest things was getting busted, you know, messing with weed. You know, you have piss tests, you have inspections, you have people that rats around you, snitches, and people that's gonna tell for benefits, you know. So when you live a life like that, you can't just do what you want to do. You got to be aware that there's consequences. And I was like, man, I don't care nothing about none of that. You know, young and dumb. Again, I'm 21 when I got out. So by me being young and dumb and not really experienced and you know, with consequential thinking in the world, like my fiance always talk about consequential thinking, that was not one of my strengths. And I was more of, you know, oh, well, you know, that attitude, F it. And so that's how I ended up getting in trouble, just like the Job Corps, did the same thing in the military, just F it. And then when I got out the military, the same F it attitude, that's how I wound up in prison, you know, just F it. So not just drugs, it's just that mindset that allows you to do the drug, just saying F it, give me that, let me smoke. And that that led to, I think I got popped on 2 piss tests, drug screens, urinalysis. And the first one, they gave me a slap on the wrist warning because I was a decent dude. You know, I wasn't retarded. I wasn't mentally crazy. I wasn't deranged and angry and trying to hurt nobody and kill up people. So, they gave me another chance. But 2 weeks later, I got found, guilty again for using marijuana. Now, the thing is, in the military, this what my mind was, how retarded I was. In the military, marijuana is a serious offense. Anytime you fail a drug test. And marijuana at that time carried a year in jail, federal prison. So the federal prison thing, I wasn't about to do that. I wasn't trying to stay in the military. I wasn't trying to go to no drug rehab. And I ain't trying to do no federal time. So I ended up taking like a plea bargain, pretty much. What they call that administrative leave and administrative discharge and all that, where you sign your name agreeing that, okay, you're going to discharge and you ain't got to worry about none of this no more. That was a decision that came out of my ignorance, because had I known back then that I could actually stay and recover and heal myself and better myself and put myself back in a better position, only a fool would deny that. Only a fool would say, to hell with that, let me go keep being stupid. So, that was just bad consequential thinking.
How did your family react to you leaving the military?
Well, my mom wasn't around at the time. My father wasn't around at the time. I think one of my closest aunties was my only big relative, or closest relative at the time, who was concerned with it, from my viewpoint then. But it really hurt her, because she already knew that, all right, if you're not going to do anything constructive, if you're not going to do anything that deals with discipline, you're not going to do anything that deals with dedicating your life to some type of value, then we know you're going down the road to destruction. And, they used to talk about that, but I didn't, again, young and dumb, you don't understand that, you don't even care. But she didn't like that at all, because it showed her that I just want to be retarded. I just want to get in trouble. I just want to do what I want to do, what don't make sense. And so she didn't like that at all. And, my little sister, Erica, shout out, she found out later. She didn't like it. Nobody liked it, because it just showed that, you're on a path to destruction. And people that knew me could see that, because I just had this. My attitude was like, oh, well, don't care, when I should have, because they did. So none of them liked it.
What happened when you left the military that landed you in prison?
Oh, Lord. What didn't happen? Well, one of the main things was because this same mindset, this devilish mindset of not caring and being selfish and being inconsiderate and unconcerned about your own life, let alone anybody else's life, that attitude had me running with gang members and planning to move to different places and live criminal activities. Live out criminal activities. And in the military, you still have gangs. In the military, matter of fact, there's more drugs in the military than there is on the streets. Drugs come in through the military in a lot of cases. But you find all the weed, all the coke, all the pills, all the X. Back in the early 2000s, the military bases was trap houses. Military bases were places where young kids could come, go to work, put on a uniform, go to work, make a paycheck, come home and get high every single day. As a matter of fact, they promoted drinking amongst the young military because you didn't have to be 21 to get drunk, because they served serve alcohol on military bases to young military soldiers, regardless of the age. So, and the logic was, I can go fight in Iraq and die for you, but I can't get drunk. So people didn't care nothing about no age limit. So people like me benefited from that. So it's every day we partying. I love weed, we love alcohol, and we love these parties, and we love women, and we love chasing this money. That was my God at that time. I didn't believe in God, Jesus, Muhammad, Allah, none of that. Today I'm grateful, but back then I was more atheist. I didn't care nothing about none of that. And so getting out the military, I'm in that same mindset. What am I going to do to get what I need to get? I need this money. I need this ride, So running with the wrong people, and I don't want to use no names because I am on parole and I have stipulations. I can't go back to the town that I came from. I can't associate with the people that I associated with back then. As a matter of fact, two of my homeboys at the time was rats, snitches, used their evidence in court against me. That's how I got busted. That's how I got locked up for armed robbery. But that's another story. But to answer the question, that mindset of not having your goals and your vision properly in front of you, written down and trying to, work towards them, and then having these false expectations and these false images in front of you, this devilish stuff, it just overwhelmed me. And afterwards, I was even more with negativity because now that I'm out the military, okay, I don't have any more restraints. See, in the military, you got to get up every morning. You got to exercise. You got to work out. You got to come to different drills and programs and classes. You going out in that field. You going overseas. Getting out of it, I ain't got nothing to do now. I do what I want to do all day. No more restraints. That made me a bigger devil than before. Now I'm getting more and more bold with evil, with wrong, with negativity and destructive stuff. And so it pushed me to the point where I really didn't care no more. And hanging with the wrong people who feel like the same way I felt, I ended up in a situation where my charge was armed robbery. Excuse me. My charge was armed robbery, and because I did it with other people or around other people, and the things that we did do, that makes a conspiracy. So I had armed robbery, conspiracy, I had gun charges, different stuff related to the armed robbery, and various other little crimes that we was committing around the neighborhoods. There's little gangs doing stupid stuff. And because I'm fresh out the military, I'm energetic. I'm angry. I love guns. That's what they teach you. They take young people that don't know nothing and they teach them how to shoot guns, and they teach them how to lie, how to be deceptive. These type of things. So this is where I'm at, and this is how I ended up in a situation where I was facing first about 100 years for, I think we had like 10 or 11 charges when they first hit us with the charges, but I ended up getting convicted of 4. 2 counts of armed robbery and 2 of conspiracy because of the clowns I was running with, who 2 of them ultimately become rats that they use their evidence against me in court, to convict me. Like I said, it's another story because that goes off into a whole nother area of my life where I've found progress and change into the better person that I am today. So I'm grateful for it. But to answer the question, coming out of the military, not having a plan, not having guidance, and then having the devil on that shoulder with this foolishness, it's a recipe for disaster. And I was one of those who ate that recipe. And it led to disaster in my personal life. So,
what did you guys rob?
finance company, and the one we got caught on was actually a loan company, and out of in Louisiana, and this loan company has some very prominent people that work there, and in having that, it became like a major local case because it involved people that knew people, and that was like, I'm grateful for the outcome and the blessings and the productivity that I got out of my prison time, but that was the worst mistake of my life, is not calculating that beforehand and thinking that I had to do that in order to have something or be something. And it took 23 years of my life. But yeah, we robbed a finance company, and that armed robbery, that conspiracy changed my life forever.
They had cash at a loan finance company like this?
Yes. Back then, you had cash. It was before cell phones. This was 2001. I got locked up. Cell phones just coming out back then, and they wasn't smartphones back then. You didn't have come in with a debit card and all that. Everything was cash. You go to grocery stores, it was cash. You go to pay bills, it was cash. So you run into a bank, it's cash. You run into a finance companies, a gas station, Piggly Wiggly back then, grocery store, all cash. So a lot of people was robbing to make their money, to fund their lifestyle. Robbery was a hot thing.
So is this like a Western Union when you say finance company?
No, more like a loan company.
Okay.
No, loan finance.
Like a payday loan or?
Yeah.
Okay. So like where you go up to a check cashing place.
Yeah.
That's what so it's different than a bank, less security.
Right. Okay. It's not a bank. And it's not federal time. It was state time. And that's funny because I used to sit up and think like, damn, I should have robbed a real bank, because I'd have got less Fed time than I got for state time robbing the finance.
Well, they talk about that in the feds all the time. If you go into a bank and rob it with just a note, you're going to get less time than the guy that walked in with a gun.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, it's retarded, but yeah, that's what it is. So that just show how stupid I was. Why would you rob that and get 36 years? You can rob them and get 5, Although both is wrong, I'm just saying that's how we didn't consequential think about what we're about to do.
Were you making money from these robberies? Were they successful?
Pennies, man, pennies. Anytime you make anything less than 10 to 15,000, it's not even worth it, because you can't even buy a lawyer. You can't. You know how much money I spent when I first got locked up? My first 3, 4, 5 months. You run through $5,000, $6,000 like that. Commissary, the phone, trying to find cigarettes, trying to get weed. You run through your money, and even on your partners, who don't have nothing. The gambling table, just so many different ways. You run through everything you got. But the robberies themselves, the crimes themselves, any hustling that you're doing, man, if it ain't bringing you enough to buy your lawyers and beat your case, it ain't worth it, because you losing your family, the money, and everything that you thought you built. You losing all of that. And I learned that the hard way. So no, none of that wasn't worth it. None of that was chump change, because I was the chump and all the lawyers and judges and DAs was making the change.
So you weren't caught red-handed if someone ratted you out then?
Yeah, we got away with it. I got away with it. And I say that not out of arrogance or ego, like I'm smart, because it was really stupid. But I didn't get caught at the time. What happened was, again, having people around you that you don't know. people around you that you think you can trust. But when you can't read the room well and you can't read people, you think everybody cool. And I learned the hard way that 2 of my so-called friends and fall partners actually was rats and turned state's evidence, took the stand, pointed me out in the courtroom. And that in Louisiana is enough to put a man in prison for life or for 20 years or whatever it's going to be. You don't have to have a pistol. They couldn't link me to a pistol. They didn't link me to a ski mask. They didn't link my shoes and feet prints. They didn't have my fingerprints. They couldn't show anything relative to the fact that it was me other than these 2 pointing it out saying that's him on that video. That's how I ended up convicted. And it's crazy because what Louisiana operates, the way they operate, 2 witnesses who can corroborate a crime at the time, that was law, that if they can corroborate that, if these 2 witnesses, state's evidence, if they can corroborate that, then they're telling the truth. It's a fact. So that's evidence that's acceptable in court. And I didn't know that at the time. Again, I'm young and dumb. I don't know the law. I'm not even planning for this. I'm in the streets doing stupid stuff, but I'm not thinking about the consequences of if and when I get caught. You know, what am I going to do to get out of this? See, the smartest people think ahead and say, well, I'm going to learn the law, I'm going to get lawyers, and I wasn't even smart enough to do that. So that's why just a lot of stupid stuff. And yes, anytime you doing something that's going to bring brash consequences upon you, you really got to think in advance of what this is you're doing and what's going to come out of it and how many people it's going to harm, because it's not just for yourself, but your children, your family, your neighbors, your community. Everybody suffers, from stupid mistakes like that. So again, I don't say it like with arrogance, but no, I didn't get caught red-handed. I got caught because of rats. I got caught because of snitches. I got caught because of 2 co-defendants turning state pointing me out on film, in the courtroom. And just to add this, it was so outrageous that not even all the jury believed I was guilty. So I didn't even have 12 jurors convicted me. And that's the thing about Louisiana. At the time, you didn't have to have 12 jurors. They created their own little system where 10 jurors was enough to convict, even though that's against the Constitution. They didn't care. That's the laws that they had. And I got convicted under that, the Non-Unanimous jury. And it's still in effect today because you still got people locked up under that, as well as people who've died from that and can never fight their case again. And then people like me, I'm on parole because of it. So if I was only a patient person that was taught how to sit down, shut up, and listen and learn, I could have learned that before I went to prison. Even if you commit crimes, at least know the crimes you committing, the consequences from it, and how to fight your way in court, at least to defend yourself. Because I got pinned with a lot of crimes that I did not commit, just like I got convicted of crimes I did commit. So when you in courtroom, you can't really, I can't say I did this, but I didn't do that. That don't matter. Once they show you as culpable for crimes, they stick all this to you. And that's how so many people get caught up with 5 and 6 and 7 different charges and beating 5 and 6, 7 gun cases. And if we don't, or in my case, because I didn't pay attention and learn and listen, I got a bigger punishment than I know that other people in my situation did not get. For example, not just the rats who ratted on me and went home early, but you see this every day in courtrooms and court cases where 2 people commit the same crime, do the same thing in the same car, but one of them go home and one go to jail. See, if you knew or if I would have known anything about law or knew how to, maneuver mentally, I wouldn't have did the stuff I did first and foremost, but then I also wouldn't have had to face so many years of trying to fight to get my freedom back after my mind changed to a more mature person. Because it didn't take me forever to learn my lesson in prison. It didn't take me 20 years in prison to learn my lesson. It took me about 2 weeks, from going to jail. I knew right then, hold up, something wrong with this. This ain't it. It didn't take me forever to understand that. So now that I look back on everything, no, none of that stuff wasn't worth it. When I look at how much family I lost, how much time I lost, how much possible success I lost, to a system that's insatiable. They'll never stop devouring the community, devouring people with these corrupt politicians. I didn't know none of that. And so in that sense, I'm grateful. But on the other side, no, man, I was retarded. The money wasn't worth it. The relationships wasn't worth it. The things that I thought that really had some benefit and some value wasn't worth it, because you lose your freedom. You lose, some people lose their manhood. I didn't lose my manhood. I wasn't a punk. I wasn't a chump. I wasn't a rat. And I love saying that, and everybody that know me know. But you see so much death and destruction. You see so many people broken. You see grown men turn into little girls. You see real strong, tough men have they faith and they soul taken from them when they go to a courtroom and, do 20 years and the people say, nah, you ain't ready. You ain't did enough time. You need to do 20 more. And they children in the courtroom and they family there. So when you see so much of this, so much of the reality and the destruction that you cause, or that's caused in our communities and in our lives, and then you see the consequences, nah, it's never worth it. Like I said, unless you doing something where you might run a Ponzi scheme and you done rob 5 people or 6 people or families, but you looking at how many grandchildren finna get, affected by this. How many communities gonna have to pay for this for however long they're gonna do. When we looking at the mindsets of people who don't have consequential thinking, who not thinking about the people that they're harming, victims, secondary victims, tertiary victims, you're not thinking about the long-term effects of what this is going to do. I was one of those people. Where I felt like what I do just affect me. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Don't tell me nothing. See, that's the stupidest thing ever, because what I learned the hard way from this crime that I was involved with to any other crime that I was involved with, the thing that I learned the hard way is that it's never just about me, because once they get through with me and they looked at all the factors of this case, now they rewrite the law book and they use pieces of this case to help them create a new law that's foolproof, or one that you can't overturn, or one that you can't win with in court. Or they use something that's gonna hurt those that come behind you, or what they love to do, what judges and district attorneys love to do when it's election time. See, because of the crime he committed, this is why we need to build a new jail. This is why we need a brand new set of handcuffs and, a brand new electric chair. They use that politically as strategy. So not only am I hurting myself, I'm also helping them. So, you really right up there with the rats. You helping the cops. So, I start looking at all that. So when you ask that question, and I get that a lot because nobody thinks that who I am today has, you couldn't see me back then doing what I would do back then to who I am today. Nobody believes it. So, when I tell people that, I come out of projects and crack houses, just what it is, homeless shelters, but who I am today through those experiences, you'll never know it. But that's only by the grace of God because, and like I said earlier, it's not about being arrogant or proud, I got away with this or got away with that, but I really didn't get away because it took my life, my freedom, my family. Like I said, the prospects of success, all that goes out the window when you go to prison, especially for 23 years. I had to listen to people talk to me crazy. I had to listen to people that was half my age talk to me crazy, tell me when to go to bed, when to do this, when to do that. You witness all these killings. You witness, and I don't glorify all that stuff in prison because it's dysfunctional life. It's a dysfunctional subculture. Like, I don't even like to talk about, when you see all this stuff going on because it's not normal. It's not good. It's not healthy. But, experiencing so much, just to give a small example, I used to do a lot of youth mentoring. And you see these young guys that they're worse than I was when I was their age. Well, I gave a little bit of a care. They don't give none. And everything is death and destruction and killing. And we wasn't like that. I wasn't trying to just run around killing people. But they got them cats today, a lot of them just, they just want to kill. That's the only thing they know. And so as a youth mentor, looking at that dynamic, it makes you start to question like, damn, how the hell did we get to this? And then what part did I play in that? Because we all are responsible when you see a young generation come like that. So again, it's not always, I didn't get away, and it's not always just about me. I had to learn that. You got other victims. Sometimes it be young people that's looking up to you and thinking that I want to be like him when I get his age, but ain't nothing cool with that because ain't nothing cool with a young punk telling you, shut up and go to bed. Get over here, boy, and get to work. I do what I want to do. What you gonna do about it? And those humiliating type circumstances, that's beneath a man. So you in an environment that's designed to humiliate you, to dehumanize you. When they have a rule book and a law book that tells you the officer always gets the credibility, no matter what. Somebody can come in and call, it. Somebody can tell you something stupid, tell you something crazy, and you're expected to accept that. And if you argue back, you're wrong. Just so many lopsided laws and policies like that, they really take away a lot of your spirit as a man and make so many people broken individuals that lose a lot of hope. So again, no, it's never a win and it's never worth it because there's so many consequences that can come from small actions. Like I said, with armed robberies and murders and manslaughters, they changing the laws every year based on, this person might have won his case and that person might have won his case. So what they're going to do is they're going to go back and play the tape in this grand jury hearing or this trial, and they're going to look at the pros and cons, and they're going to look at what they can use and say, well, we're going to introduce a law next year that's not going to be defeatable. So you're helping the system like that. With the more we do that, we don't think about the consequences, or we don't think about the outcomes. A sheriff running for office and cracking down on crime, a DA running for office, a judge running for office. They're using us in what we do to get in office or to prove their point. And so it's a bigger picture than just the individual. And I had to learn all that. And if I could say one thing, when it comes to learning lessons, I'm the king of learning lessons. I learned my lessons. I mean, like I told you, I learned my lessons the first 2 weeks. It didn't take long. I didn't have to see the whole system. I didn't have to see every aspect of prison life. I didn't have to. It took me 2 weeks. And I knew this ain't right. Something wrong with this. Something is really wrong with this. And ever since then, I've been on a trajectory trying to change my life, change my focus, my viewpoint, how I think. And not only that, but I find the value of influencing and helping others. And that's how I become a tutor and a mentor and a teacher and, over time. So there's blessings to be had in those lessons. But at the same time, a lot of that you can learn if you just shut up and listen from the get-go. You don't have to go through that.
Before you went to trial, did they offer you a plea deal?
Yes. I refused it.
How much was it for?
10 years. Armed robbery. They would have reduced my charges from 2 counts of armed robbery to 2 conspiracies. They wanted me to tell on somebody else, just like they got my co-defendants, to tell on me. I refused it out of my principles of loyalty, and I still stand on loyalty and respect, and I'm not going to dishonor myself. But it was 10 years was the minimum for armed robbery at the time in Louisiana. It was 10 to 99. That was what the statutory minimum for armed robbery was 10. So, excuse me, any plea bargain was 10 years. And actually you do 8.5, so it's 85%, so there's 8.5. But that was my first plea bargain, and I refused that because it involved not about guilt or nothing like that, but you want me to tell on somebody else who was actually a friend of mine at the time. So wasn't no way I was doing that. And I still stand by that today. People ask me that all the time. Why you just didn't take the plea? See, that sounds good, but you don't know what's involved with taking the plea. And people don't just come at you with a plea because they love you or they like you or they care about you or your family or they trying to get you home. That's what they tell us in them interrogation rooms, but they ain't trying to bring you home. They're trying to lock up as many as they can. Or trying to complete an agenda like a lot of sheriffs and police departments do when it's time to fill them quotas. We got to keep these jail cells full because that's where our grant money comes from. That's why our contract remains open like CCA and Corrections Corporation and all those people there that run prisons. They have mandatory field rates. You got to keep this jail full in order to keep your contract with us. So you got to lock up more people to keep it full. And so, that fused the plea bargain system where they use plea bargains when they really don't even have no evidence. Because like I said, in my case, they had no evidence against me, physical. They had a videotape. It showed people on the tape, but you can't prove that's me. That's why all the jurors didn't think I was guilty. They had fingerprints. None of mine. They had footprints. None of mine. They had hair fibers in a mask. None of mine. They had guns. No prints for me. So how am I part of this? Well, again, 2 rats that take the stand and cooperate they become state witnesses, 2 witness testimonies is evidence. It's just like physical evidence. If 2 witnesses say they seen it, it's just like you physically being there, so under Louisiana law at the time. So anyway, with the plea bargains, it was a bunch of reasons why I never been with that. And not only because I don't believe in the ratting part, but also because I don't believe that we should be tricked into giving up your freedom without even putting up a fight. See, I don't believe in that, especially when we know that they'll trump up evidence like they do in most cases. They'll trump up all the evidence, make you guilty, put it in the news, get the whole community to condemn you in the court of public opinion. And then by the time it comes to you for arraignment, oh, you facing 163 years and you gonna do this and that, and we got you. And for a person that don't know no better, like most of us when we go into jail, we don't know no better, so that stuff that scares us. And we don't have a fight spirit, we got a run spirit. So, a lot of cases, that's just, I'm guilty, Your Honor, and you really don't be. Now, like in my case, you might be guilty of this, but you ain't guilty of that or that or that. And see, you can't separate it. So when you say you guilty, you getting all that with that. That's unfair. But there's so many people that fall victim to that. And even in my ignorance, I knew one thing. When I went to trial, and my case is public, I've been through the courtroom, I've been through Department of Corrections, and I've been through the parole boards and hearings, and my story is just, it is what it is. I don't have nothing to hide. And when I talk today, I stand on truth. It's crooked. It was racist in that little town where I was at. It was wrong. It was evil on the part of the lies and the corruption that's used, excuse me, to convict people that have not done what you've said. And what I mean by that, they use evidence from 2 or 3 different cases and splice it all together to make one piece of evidence for this, and then want you to plea to that, take a plea bargain to that. Nah, that don't work like that, especially when you didn't do that. And I see so many people, rather than fight and get, you facing life, and they take the plea bargain. Matter of fact, they just had what the little rapper just did that, winning the case. And you get to the point where, whatever it is that make you want to go home so bad, yeah, I did it, Your Honor. See, that's dishonor to me, because not only are you dishonoring yourself, you dishonoring the people that's fighting to try to end this corruption in these courtrooms where you have these debtor courts and these juvenile courts where these judges is finding people guilty for kickbacks. And that goes on across America. So even at the time I was taking my plea bargain, I knew, I was in courtroom, I called the DA, a liar, judges, I wasn't trying to hear from the judge, the victims, the witnesses, none of that. I don't know nothing, y'all lying, I ain't part of this, that's my story. And I'm sticking with, that was my mindset. Because you not finna stick all this crap on me when I know I did this or I did this, but I ain't did that. and the evidence show that. So a plea bargain for me would have been like, man, I'd have sat in the cell for 10 years instead of 23. I would have sat in the cell mad at myself and disgusted with myself for selling myself out. See, even though I did 23, by not taking the plea and going to trial and losing with 4 counts, I still slept good every night. I didn't feel like I lost my soul. I didn't feel like I'm less than a man. I didn't feel like I copped out and was scared. I didn't feel, like I just sold my soul for whatever. I didn't give in. So I slept. I felt good with my loyalty, with my self-respect. And a lot of people don't understand that, because some people say, man, I would have took the 10 years and went home. My co-defendants did. But they got to live with the fact that you'll always be a rat. You'll always be a sellout. You'll never be able to say you stood up and defended your own manhood or your self-respect or your honor, your integrity. See, I stand on that today. So, again, it's not glory, because ain't nothing glorious about a man being told when to go to bed and when to eat and when to shut up. And you can't visit your family today, or your family gotta leave right now, or, this, that, and the other. There's nothing glorious about none of that. There's nothing glorious about having to eat, sleep, and crap around other men, and showering around other men, and standing in line waiting for different people to get their food. There's nothing glorious about none of that. And then when you sitting in the dorms, like in the Louisiana prison system, all systems are different, but they have a lot of dormitories in different prisons. And you could be sitting in a dorm at the table playing cards or chess or whatever. And they walking people through like different investors and people that's coming through to invest in a new shower stall, or they want to invest in a new electric chair, or they got some brand new handcuffs that you don't even need a key for, or they got a brand new pepper spray that only hits the offender, the criminal. And these people looking in the dorms while you sitting in the dorm playing cards or whatever you doing, you know how it go, you been there. And they just marking stuff down. Yeah, looks like we need some new tables, or we need a new television, or we need, and when you're not thinking about it like that, you really just contributing to that system. But when you start thinking about it and looking at it, and somebody's pointing that out and teaching you how to see this is big business. This is nothing but corporate corruption, corporate schemes, where every year the wardens and different police officers getting brand new cars and brand new tasers and brand new guns and brand new handcuffs and whatever. All that taxpayer expense, which is our parents, our family, our community. Where I'm committing a crime, my people got to pay for that. And then not only do they pay for the stuff I did do, they also pay for stuff I didn't do, because I said I'm guilty. So, it's a lot that come with that I thank God that I never was the type of person to be a quitter, and I don't give up when it's something I believe in. Even though I was ignorant, stupid, didn't believe in God, I still had a code that I would not break. So my plea bargaining, or my lack of plea bargaining, was because of that. There's so many things that go into that. And I wasn't, like I said, many people don't understand it, but it's bigger than just, I would have took the 10 and went home. Yeah, but you can't always live with yourself like that, because some of us care about integrity, and honor and different codes that we live by. I never lost that, even though I was, incarcerated. I still never lost my honor code.
What were some of the things, the negative things you've witnessed during your 24 years of incarceration?
Excuse me. I mean, you name it. For example, if you look through the news for the past, just say 2 years, I've been at a place called Elaine Hunt, right? Elaine Hunt is in Louisiana. It's one of the state prisons of Louisiana, which, at one time was dubbed the prison capital of the world because of the per capita numbers of people that they lock up compared to the whole population. Elaine Hunt was notorious for the past couple of years. You saw a lot of deaths come out of there, a lot of drugs, a lot of officers getting fired because of different reasons. But if you remember, or if you go through the news, you saw a whole lot of fentanyl, mojo, different drug use, and what it produced or what it caused from that drug use. I've seen people lose their lives, but I've also seen people that physically alive, but mentally gone. I've seen young brothers, 19, 20, come out and, one day they be intelligent, wise, and smart. The next day they be zombies because the drugs just space them out. Different drugs do different things to different people. But one of the worst things that I could see, it wasn't the people fighting over the gambling table or fighting because of somebody disrespected somebody and somebody had to get stabbed. That wasn't it for me. What was it for me was watching dudes that I knew normal and go get high and come back abnormal and come back like totally different to where they're not even functioning no more. I sit and watch young brothers howling at the moon. That dudes used to read books. And now when you seeing this, for me, this was the biggest thing because in most cases, it be corrupted officials that's allowing this, that's doing this, that be behind this, and they would be scot-free. But I watched so many little brothers, and I hate it because, when I was working as a mentor, and you around these young brothers and you get to taking a liking to them, because you start learning the person that they are, outside of what the courtroom say and what people say. You get to seeing how a person really is. And these be good people. And then you see, drug addictions happen or whatever it may be, overdose, or even if it's not overdose, sometimes it be just, due to get high. And then you have poor medical staff, or you have ineffective administration that don't want to get medical staff or bring them medical attention. And it causes a person to die. And the first thing that they say when they cover it up with the lawyers is, oh, he killed himself, he committed suicide, or he overdosed. But that don't really be the case. The case is, yes, he did drugs, but because of your lack of a response, he died. So what that causes is you have to witness not only the dude messing his life up, you also get to see the system cover it up and blame it on him. And then we all got to suffer because when somebody die, the prison go on lockdown. And Elaine Hunt was notorious for this, for the past year or two. Just Google it. Google Elaine Hunt, Google corruption, Google drugs, Google whatever. And it's not just that, but all throughout the prison systems in America. So the most heinous things to me wasn't just bloodshed. You see bloodshed anyway. You see that in the streets. You see it with guns. You see it in clubs, whatever. You see it on TV all the time. Blood doesn't have the same effect for me anymore, like seeing this mental and this spiritual war that goes on when you see people losing their mental and spiritual lives and then crooked people capitalizing off that. That became the sickest stuff to me over time. And part of that was because I knew in my case, I was railroaded with, like I said, 2 co-defendants, many charges that I did not do. And I can't distinguish between, in the courtroom, I can't distinguish and say I didn't do that, but I did that. Can't do that because I'm not taking no pleas. I'm pleading the fifth. I ain't got nothing to do with none of it. So it put me in a hard situation, but it allowed me to see how crooked this game is that we play if you don't know the consequences to it, and really the game you playing, if you don't know the rules to it. So seeing all that in prison, for me, was the biggest thing. Yeah, I've seen rapes, I've seen stranglings, but those are not the every single day highlights of being in prison. The highlights for me was watching a medical officer or a doctor or a nurse get fired from a hospital on the streets because of malpractice or being ineffective, and then get hired in prison because they low quality, they can pay them less, and they can actually become a manager, in prison. You can manage the medical department coming from the medical field, even though you were suspended for practice. See, that's the kind of stuff that started bothering me, because I'm looking at criminals now. I'm looking at criminals put in position where they're the ones calling shots over people's lives and shaping policy behind that. And what that means is my mother who pays taxes, your mother who pays taxes, our neighbors who pay taxes, putting money in his pocket to tell lies. And then if he does a bad job and give me the wrong medication, I die. And they say I overdose. And they use their lawyers to defend it in court. So it becomes a big messy war, pretty much, for lack of better words. And to me, that became a bigger atrocity than just seeing two dudes fight. See, dudes fighting, that aggression, that negativity, that anger, that's gonna happen because this is the environment that's created for that. These gladiator camps, most of these camps now are what they call gladiator camps, where every day is get your knife and let's go, or give me that bag, or, this, that, and the other. It's aggression, it's hostility, it's competition. It's expressions of wanting to be men, wanting to conquer, wanting to have power, wanting to be in charge of something, wanting to be big. But for me, it wasn't that. That didn't really, that didn't have as much shock value on me as when I saw this courtroom and saw who the real gangsters was. And who I saw, because, dudes that I used to run with, dudes you run with in prison, dudes you see every day, talk, talk all day, then somebody punch them one time and then they done. You see that all day. But what got me was people would be ready to kill me and you for stepping on their shoe in line, but here come a brand new warden or rank or colonel or captain or whatever, and he talked to him crazy and tell him, your mama can't come to visit because I don't like how you talk to me or whatever. But you won't tell him nothing. See, those became the big atrocities for me, because not only is that physical war or physical conditioning, it's also mental and spiritual conditioning, to the point where you're seeing people just give up their life, give up the fight, give up the struggle for freedom and betterment or whatever it may be. Like I said, it ain't about guilt and not guilt. When it comes to prison, a lot of times it's about the politics involved and the money involved, because it's a slave-making system where a few people get rich off the ignorant masses. So that became the biggest thing for me. And to this day, that's my biggest enemy, is the capitalistic way that, or the evil way that the evil way a few people like Geo Group and what used to be Wackenhut and JPay, Securus, all these companies where a few people can manage thousands and thousands of prisoners and their family and their debit cards and have all this access and info and just constantly exploiting. And you got a system that actually promotes this, and they do contracts with this, and they actually like this kind of stuff. And so, you know, like I said, as I start seeing that and the fact that you'll kill me for looking at you stupid, but you won't tell them nothing when they actually raping all of us, you know, for lack of better word. That's what it is. When you got a company that charges you by the minute to talk, and by the time you finish talking for 1 hour, you done spent $10, $15, $20 for 1 hour. When in actuality, a cell phone is $20, $30, the flip phone prepaid, and the monthly bill for a prepaid $50, you know, that's a whole month that you talk out here. But in there, to $60 don't get you 3-4 hours. You know, so it's exploitation in that. And for me, that was what started to take the cake. Now, I admit, when I first got locked up, yeah, it's rough when you seeing all this stupid stuff going on and you learning. And you got to watch yourself, and you got to be respectful, and you got to pay attention, and you got to be aware, and you got to be vigilant, because stuff happen. It never stops, because you're dealing with mental health. You're dealing with these conditions of confinement in like a laboratory, like they do with rats. When they put them in the lab, they see how they behave. And prisons is like big laboratories. So I expect that. But the like I said, the things that, when you ask the question, you know, what did I see? The things that I hated to see the most was how the system capitalizes off those who lack resources, knowledge, information, awareness, and they'll never believe that this, when I say the system, I'm talking about these orchestrators and administrators. They'll never believe that this church-going warden will do the things that he'll do for his job or his political party or whatever it may be. They'll never believe that. And so as I started seeing that, it became my main enemy, you know, corruption, because I used to work for many people. You know, in prison, you're gonna work stupid jobs. You work in kitchens, you work in laundry rooms, you work around offices, you work around these people. So I hear you, on one hand, offer me alcohol or drugs or money, or offer me contraband, or you do this and that. But when the cameras come out, oh, these prisoners are no good, we need to build another jail. You know, I hate that. That became my biggest enemy, because that was part of my case, but it's been part of so many other cases that I've seen. And over time, that hypocrisy becomes a bigger enemy than this little small everyday stuff that's going on. Because at the end of the day, it's not me paying taxes, my family paying taxes, you know?
How did you do your time? Everyone has like a different way of doing their prison time.
Right.
What kind of time were you on?
When I first started my time, like I said, I was young and dumb. You know, 21 years old when I came in, still running the streets, still love gangs, still love drugs. My first couple of years, really, I was ignorant, didn't know anything, didn't know myself, didn't know God, wasn't trying to know none of that. So I thought that my ignorant way of thinking was, you know, that was it. You know, everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own opinion. That philosophy, that was where I was at. And I did a lot of stuff that was stupid. I mean, I've been hit with tasers. I've been hit with the water hose. I didn't have the dogs at my door in the cell block. Because just stupid stuff and rebellious and not wanting accountability. My first couple of years were rougher. Caught a couple of write-ups, got in a couple of fights. Just I didn't fully understand or know myself and know the situation. So my first couple of years were rougher. I was just gambling, drugs. I loved blackjack. That was my favorite game. I loved to take my money and take my commissary and let's get it. So I say the first three, when I was thinking that I'm gonna go to court and win my case because I'm knowing that my case is railroaded and not making sense, and that's why the jurors didn't even agree that I was guilty. When I thought I could win off of logic like that, it wasn't as serious to me because I figured, oh yeah, I got this beat. Even the lawyer told me they shouldn't have won and it should be a mistrial. But what I didn't know was that's just how the system is. And so as I started, like I said, understanding, my time started flipping. I started living different, thinking different, doing different. And it took great individuals that never gave up on me to pour into me and see potential. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. It changed my life, 2003. I became Muslim, never looked back. That allowed me to see another side of life that I've never seen, but another side of prison that I've never seen. And that changed my behavior because I went from gambling to not gambling no more. Went from the drugs to we leaving this alone because we seeing what it's doing. I went from, being more disrespectful towards women to, we ain't doing that no more. We're going to start respecting them. It made me proud to be black. It made me not proud to be a prisoner, in the sense that I'm just naive, but it made me proud to be a person that's knowing that I'm fighting, even though I'm in prison. I started with learning the law. I learned a lot about the law. I did a lot of law work. I never went to get officially accredited with no degrees, but I learned a lot of the law, a lot of certificates. So as I started learning knowledge of self and knowledge of what's going on, that changed everything for me because, like I said, I see a bigger picture now. I'm looking at corporate level crime and corruption. I'm looking at stolen or fraudulent elections, when it comes to judges and mayors and all that, and how judges not supposed to be politically involved. So I would say that my fourth and fifth year, everything changed and I become more educated, more conscious, more productive, more positive. I didn't look at life the same anymore after that. And it changed the way I behaved, the way I walked, the way I talked. Who I am today is not who I was in 2001. And people that knew me back then can't believe who I am today because of that. So how I live was, to answer that question, depends on what time we're talking about. Because when I started, I wasn't conscious at all. I didn't even believe in a God. Now I live for God. So it changed with the knowledge and information, awareness, and putting it into practice. So my last 4 or 5 years, I was teaching young people, helping young people. I'm a published author today because of that. So if you would have asked me that, 20 years ago, I couldn't answer that. I never saw myself educating nobody. I barely had a GED. I couldn't read like that. I wasn't smart. I wasn't teaching. I didn't care. But now that's my passion. And my behavior and character and conduct changed accordingly with my knowledge, my awareness changing. So again, when I started prison, my life was different than when I finished prison.
What year did you get out of prison, and how long did you serve?
Excuse me. What is this, 25? I got out of prison 6 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that,
June 14th, 2024. That's my 45th birthday.
How many years?
I did 23.
So you did the full 23?
No, I actually had 36. I just didn't do all 36. I went home on parole after serving 23. When I reached 45 years of age, which was June 14th of last year, my birthday, I came home on parole.
Well, welcome home.
Oh, thank you. It's a great welcome because it's been a blessing because I've made a lot of progress, and I'm doing better in my transition, and I'm surrounded by a great team of support. I mean, you met my fiance, beautiful, intelligent, helpful. My mother, same way. She's helping in communities with young women coming through troubled lives and addictions and struggling. My sister, again, she promotes reading and education. She's a manager at a university. So I'm surrounded by intelligence. I'm surrounded by help, a team that really cares. So it's helping my transition. And, shout out to people like the Parole Project in Louisiana who does a lot of reentry work and making sure that people coming home have a chance to succeed without just, kicking them to the curb because they've been in prison, like many businesses and corporations do. People like Walmart, McDonald's. I've been turned down on all kind of jobs when I came home with the skill sets that I had and ability to communicate and ability to maintain patience. And, they turned me down to choose people that ain't finna do no work. Dudes coming to work high and looking all crazy. They hire them. But me, I couldn't even get a job at McDonald's. And that's crazy. 2 McDonald's turned me down. So, shout out to all the prison reform groups all over this country that work to make sure that people like me can come home and have another chance after incarceration, facing the stigmas, facing the stereotypes, facing the hidden discriminations that go on, facing the old enemies and the old friends, and facing the haters and the naysayers, and facing these fake politicians that use your name for their purposes, for whatever opposition. There's people that are helping to try to make sure that people like me and you, and shout out to you for doing this, what you do, straight up, because they got people that come out of prison that have resources that don't do a damn thing. And then they have people that come out that don't have much that wish they could do more. So shout out to everybody that helps because I've received a lot of help, with you got groups that provide and help with food, clothing, and shelter, basics. And when you don't have that, it makes it hard to do anything else. If you ain't got a house over, a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food to eat, it's kind of hard to go to work for anybody. And so shout out to the Parole Project and the Innocence Project, Promise of Justice, different Louisiana groups, different cure groups, Innocence Project across the country that's trying to correct these old cases and get these dudes free that need to be free. Shout out to all of them. So yeah, when I got out, June 14th of this past year, I was determined to never go back and always make sure I reach back to people that are still there trying to get their freedom, because I remember the days when I wanted mine and I needed somebody to help me. So I try to, live by that today. So I got out in June, and I ain't looked back since.
What do you do now for work?
Right now, I'm a porter. I work for a Nissan dealership. right now. That's the job I have now. When I first got out, I couldn't find a job for like 2 months. And I eventually had some help from, down in Louisiana, the prison reform groups. I think it was the Parole Project was one of them, where my first job, I worked for an agency that helped with the aging elderly population. I was cooking. But I found a better job working for a car dealership. So I work for Nissan right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, training to, sell cars.
Well, you're a smooth talker, so you're going to get there.
Well, I thank God, because I used, good word, smooth, because I used to be rough. I used to couldn't put a sentence together that was intelligent. I used to stutter in ahs and ums, and I couldn't complete a thought, and it wouldn't make sense. And so I'm really grateful for communication skills, because I believe all prisoners need that. For one thing, we labeled as if we're incapable. We're labeled as all these negative names and stereotypes because of prison. And one thing that we have to do as prisoners and ex-prisoners is learn how to speak up for ourselves. Because what courtrooms teach you is that unless you got a lot of money and power, ain't nobody representing you in court. And nobody represent you in life. So you got to learn to talk and represent yourself and speak for yourself, because if not, they got people that's going to speak up against you and use that against you. Even in the court of law, if you plead the fifth, in some courts, they're going to make that turn into guilt. You look guilty, and the right DA going to spin it like that. So I've learned to, one of my primary focuses throughout my incarceration and trying to rehabilitate myself, trying to teach myself, was getting involved with Toastmasters and different groups like JCs and different positive, productive groups that were giving me some type of skill that I can use. So, and one skill that we all need is effective communication, because without communication, no relationship can stand, and that's business, that's social, that's moral, whatever it may be, family. All relationships depend on communication, even you with your judge. People that have to, we got to deal with parole officers, and you got to be able to talk to them. Whether you like them or not ain't got nothing to do with it. But if this man, the signing of his pen determine your freedom or your punishment, you got to learn to talk to people and help yourself to find the best situations or the best outcomes in your situation. So effective communication is very, very critical to success. And I'm very thankful that God blessed me to be around people that helped me and pointed stuff out like, hey, stop saying so much and stop cussing. I used to cuss. Stop doing that, stop doing that. I still have a problem. I'll be looking off, but, people train to stop doing that. And it takes those small nuggets of love and attention and care and concern that really helps us to become better. So I've been blessed over time to have good family and friends and people that really did care, and they help you to do better. So I could never forget the value of that. And I think if more people could understand the value of a support team, a network, man, if we could have more networks and more team building, we'll see more effectivity in our communities and in the prison population as a whole. You wouldn't see as many deaths and murders. You wouldn't see as many rapes happen. You wouldn't see as many overdoses happen and people throwing their lives away and giving up hope and committing suicide. You wouldn't see that if we had more networks, more team building. So that's what I'm all about today.
What advice would you give to your teenage self if you could stand next to him and go back in time?
Sit down, shut up, and listen. just repeatedly. Sit down, shut up, and listen. And in that order, sit down. Stop running around. Stop trying to get involved in everything. Sit down. Just be still. And shut up so you can hear. You can pay attention. And not only do I need you to hear what I'm saying, I need you to listen with your mind actively, trying to understand, see the logic and wisdom, and apply it in your life as if you know I'm telling the truth. Sit down, shut up, listen. Because if I had done that, it wouldn't have took me 23 years to, put my life on track. I wouldn't have had to serve all that time away from my family had I listened then.
Stephen, thank you so much for coming today, man. This was an incredible interview, and it's definitely going to inspire a lot of individuals. And I wish you the best, and thanks so much for coming. And we'll have your book that you've published. Is that available online?
I'm glad you asked that because, yes, it is available online, Surviving Incarceration by Stephen Tweedle. My sister helped me publish it. It is available on Amazon and a few more sites. Just simple to find. I'm the only person, I think, in America with that title and that name, so it's easy to find. But for you, I forgot to mention earlier, and my fiance has it right now, I think in her purse. We have a gift for you.
Oh, awesome.
Appreciation for you bringing me on and having this discussion because I really like the work that you've done. I just learned about you this year, within the past couple of months. So since then, I've been checking stuff out and, checking out what you do. I really like what you do. And coming here to see all this is really great how you've turned your time, your learning into helping other people to grow and helping other people to, to, like I call it, transition more effectively. Because like I said, they got many people that don't give a damn about us when we come home from prison. Oh, you did the crime, you do the time, or, that's the bed you make you lay in, and, all these cliches is BS. A lot of times people go to prison because we don't know no better. We don't have the opportunities, the resources. Sometimes we just make stupid choices and don't have nobody there to really mentor us. So seeing you do something like this is really what mentorship is all about. Telling your 17-year-old self or your 17-year-old neighbor what they need to hear that's going to help them, and not just saying, yeah, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job in second place and third place. That's BS. So I'm really proud of what you do, and I appreciate it. And as a token, I know it's not much, but I do have a gift for you. So
thank you, Stephen. We appreciate all the gifts a guest bring. As you see in the studio, like all the knickknacks are a piece of a guest. Amen. And we're just going to continue to add on to that. And we'll have the link to your book in the description of this episode.
Yes, sir.
So people could check that out.
Okay, please do. And remember, it's not even about the money. It's about the knowledge and information, because the more our families and our people know, the better off we can do. So I thank you. Appreciate you.
Well said.